Outbreaks of diseases are coming. Outbreaks of diseases are coming. So this part of the prophecy I got while I was awake. Outbreaks of disease are coming. Outbreaks of new diseases are coming. And then the Lord begins to describe to me a disease that I'm going to read to you from my tablet, but where I saw pictures, I'm also going to tell you where I saw the pictures. Miniaturization of the breathing tube. He's explaining it to me. Miniaturization, meaning shrinkage, okay? Shrinkage of the breathing tube. This is your trachea as well as the bronchial tubes that go off into your right and your left lung. Miniaturization of the breathing tube is a condition that will spring up in small areas of population density and rural areas, that is, villages and other non-urban areas first. The signs will be miniaturization or shrinking progressively and getting smaller of the chest wall, and you will start to feel like your rib cage is getting too small. Basically, you will start to feel your rib cage as if it's getting small and your lungs are being confined in there and getting constricted, making it harder to breathe. That's one. Your rib cage and your general area here where your lungs, the lungs don't actually open and close themselves. It is movement in and out of the chest cavity, producing a little small suction in there that actually makes our lungs go in and out, just like bellows. They don't puff up themselves. It is the movement of the rib cage up and down, that how God has made us, causing a little suction flow in there that actually causes the lungs to go in and out. So God says the first thing you will start to feel is like your chest wall, like your ribs are actually slowly being compressed and being made small, and it's automatically going to make it harder for people to breathe. That's the first thing. Then he says also the breathing tube and the lungs will start shrinking. So you will start to feel as if your trachea, your bronchial tube here, the big area, is starting to get smaller, and it's not about oh, my throat. No, you will literally start to feel like it's getting smaller, meaning that when you breathe in, you're taking in less air because you feel that the pipe is smaller, right? As well as your lungs will start feeling very much smaller. If the lungs are smaller, it's obviously more shallow breaths. That's why babies always are like breathing so fast, because they've got tiny little lungs. And then that's also why a champion swimmer, an Olympic swimmer, will obviously have bigger lungs, because he has trained until the lung capacity has increased by reason of his craft. So we're talking about a miniaturized chest wall, feeling like your chest wall, your torso area is getting smaller. And then we're also talking your trachea actually becoming smaller, the bronchial tubes becoming smaller, and God says it's going to lead to acute respiratory distress. So when I was listening to this, I was like, Lord, all this you're describing, is this not asthma? Is this not just asthma? And he said yes and no. Asthma is an attack. It's an attack. It's a disease or a condition that attacks the breathing apparatus, whereby it constricts for a moment. That is why when people are having an asthma attack, everything does constrict momentarily until you can hear their breath whistling in their nose and throat as they strive for air. And they need to take something in that will punch those things, hit them hard to make them loosen up so that the lungs can get proper air to keep the person open. And God says, no, that's momentary. It's an attack on the breathing apparatus, okay, the nose, the throat, the chest, and the lungs, that constricts momentarily, and you feel that you can't get enough air due to narrowing and squeezing of your lungs and throat. But asthma is not a permanent thing that will last, meaning that you don't go through every second of the day having asthma. You have the condition and it may attack you at times. He says, asthma doesn't permanently stay active. It is a condition that comes in an attack. This disease is different. It will literally make your chest wall either compress too much, as in your chest is literally going to start getting smaller. I don't know how that is, but if it's psychosomatic, but I don't think it is, because psychosomatic is just, oh, I think I'm feeling this, but it's actually something that you'll be feeling. Your chest wall will either compress too much, or Yah says it will fall inward, meaning it will collapse inward, or your trachea, your windpipe, and other breathing organs like your lungs will literally start to get smaller over time. They will shrink noticeably, meaning that this can be picked up through x-rays, a chest x-ray, or an MRI, or whatever else that people might have. It will be visible if you are able to look at the throat, the chest, and the lungs, okay? They will shrink noticeably, meaning that when this disease first starts off on people, they will start to feel uncomfortable, like trouble breathing, and they'll go and seek treatment for it. But then he says things will progress until they're always struggling for air and to breathe comfortably and consistently until, in some cases, the person dies. Miniaturized lungs means that even the root-looking system on the lungs will constrict. Our lungs look like they're covered with tiny little bronchial whatever running all over till they look like the roots of the tree. Yah says that even those things will start to constrict. Now, mind you, they sit on the surface of the lung. And when they start to shrink, he says they will cause chest pains. And when I finished writing, the Lord was telling me that the bronchial constriction will even be noticeable while a doctor is looking at the person. So you go in, and as you're waiting for your appointment, you're feeling that thing. And even when you're being examined by the doctor, it could go kick as it's getting smaller and smaller. And the doctors will observe people in visible discomfort as those tiny little root systems getting smaller and tighter. The perfect analogy that's just coming to me is, just imagine all our clothing is stitched with hems. Okay, so everything that we have, it has a hem on the side, it has a hem on the neck. Just imagine that somebody gets a little piece of thread and begins to pull it. We've all seen fabric bunch up when you pull it and it starts to pull. Imagine that the constriction will be causing that kind of folding effect on the lung. Obviously, this is cloth material, it doesn't feel anything, but if your flesh was being pulled like that, it would be very painful. And Yah says that people will have noticeable chest pains as the shrinkages of their various apparatus is happening. People will be struggling for air. People will be breathing really shallowly. So look out for people to end up panting the way our dogs pant. Dogs, just that's how they breathe. I don't know if they have small lungs, but they definitely breathe like so people will be struggling for air as they really can't expand their lungs for a good breath and take it out. And people will also start to get lightheaded and start to suffer from brain problems as they are getting less air to the brain, exactly as if they were drowning. Drowning causes brain damage. These people will be in danger of having the same kind of thing as they're getting less oxygen to the brain, but Yah says they will not have drowned. A respiratory crisis is coming, and the main places of advent, that is the first places they're going to pop up, okay, the places of origin, Yah said, will be small towns and villages. So places that are not very densely populated, like urban areas, like cities, mid-sized cities, that kind of thing. No, it's going to be in the rural areas, in towns, and in villages. And now, as he was telling me this, I was seeing definitely a village clinic in Africa. The clinic was not well staffed, and the clinic was also not well funded and well equipped.